To interrupt you, but I'm now hearing that our Ed O'Keefe in the spin room is standing by with Amy Klobuchar. So let's go to Ed.
Hello, Tanya.
We're all good.
Are you good? We're good? All right. Sorry about that.
We had a little wardrobe malfunction.
You said it. How are you?
I'm great.
How do you think it went tonight?
I thought it went really well. It was one of those debates where they asked so many questions that you felt like you wanted to jump in and answer all of them. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of my differences with Senator Sanders and Senator Warren, including on the free college for all, because I have some real problems with that, because it would literally give free college to rich kids. And I think what we should be focusing on is making college more affordable for all Americans and connecting the degrees and the education with the jobs that are open and will be open in our economy.
You also, I suspected, wanted to say a little more about experience, because I saw the mayor make some reference to the fact that you have Washington experience, and then you sort of looked like, wait, hold on.
I tried to reinsert myself, because I actually have the local experience that he's had. I've run a major agency in a major big county, and I did that for 8 years. And then I ran for the U.S. Senate, and I've had 14 years of private sector experience. I think that matters when we've had a president that hasn't done anything to help people afford prescription drugs or do anything about building infrastructure in a big way in this country. And so I have a lot of respect for the mayor. I truly do. But when he started ticking off all of the bills that were mine and talking about the things that he wanted to do, I think the fact that I have passed over 100 bills since I got to Washington matters. And one of the points I wanted to make is he is qualified, but I think I'm more qualified. And I wanted to make a pitch to voters, because there's clearly some kind of different standard going on when we have had as I said, name your favorite woman president or vice president, and we can't. It has been all men, yet women are half the population, over half the population. So I think we need to dispel some myths. I don't think you got to be the tallest person. You're not that tall, so you can relate. I don't think you have to be the skinniest person. I don't think you have
I'm definitely not the skinniest person either.
I don't think you have to be the loudest voice in the room. I just think you have to be someone that can bring people together, that is competent, that is smart, and that can also, and this is the number one issue for Democratic voters right now, that can win and has a proven track record of bringing in moderate Republicans and independents.
That answer you gave, the initial one about, and the point you made on the stage there, looked to me like you'd really thought through how you wanted to answer that question, anticipating it was coming.
Well,
because you've been raising these concerns about the double standard for the last few weeks, arguing that a woman who's 37 and running a small town with only 9,000 people would not be on that stage.
Yes, and I believe that. And I, at the same time, believe he's qualified, as I said. But I don't want to whine about it. I'm just going to meet whatever standard there is. But that case I made, it wasn't just for women in politics. It was for all women. If we're going to get in the boardrooms and we're going to start increasing our numbers, running things, the people are going to have to come to grips with it. That women may look different, they may sound different. I actually think it's time to give them a chance to lead.
You are growing your operation
Yes.
and in polling and in fundraising, kind of at that sweet spot where people are starting to pay a little more attention, especially in Iowa, where you're really hoping to do well. Talk about the growth over the last month since that last debate, when you raised about $2 million within the first, I think it was 36 hours, 48 hours after that debate. You're going to need another bump like that out of this one probably as well, in hopes of somehow getting up into the top tier in Iowa?
Exactly. Well, we actually have doubled our number of offices in Iowa. We're in the process of doing that. We are adding staff and offices in New Hampshire, and we are opening offices in, well, we already had staff in South Carolina, but we're adding more staff in Nevada. So that's an exciting time for me, because I've always said I don't want to be the president for half of America. I want to be the president for all of America. And that means you focus on those early states and you expand from there.
How concerned are you about what now apparently Senate Intelligence Chairman Richard Burr says could be up to an 8-week Senate trial, and what that would do to your momentum, especially in Iowa?
I have the most endorsements of elected and former electeds in the state of Iowa, so I've got a lot of great people that can speak for me, which I appreciate, and they are ready to go. I've got my husband and my daughter who are great campaigners. I've got the governor of Minnesota, who was just down there for the Iowa-Minnesota game Okay, we were undefeated until then, as well as lieutenant governor, who's the highest-ranking American Indian elected official in the country, and we have more from there. So, if my constitutional duty requires me to be in Washington for this incredibly important moment in our country's history, I will be there, and I simply believe that the people of Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and Nevada, the early states there, they understand that. They understand that priority.
Can I ask you a nerdy Senate question that I think you might know the answer to, given that you're on the Rules Committee?
Okay.
It's my understanding that the Senate as it exists can determine the rules for what can and cannot happen, especially among you as jurors, right?
The Senate can determine the rules. Yes, we actually are judges and jurors. Yes, Chief Justice Roberts will be presiding over the trial if a case comes over from the House, but we actually can also determine the rules. And of course, the Republicans run the Senate. This is one of my concerns with Mitch McConnell, but decisions will be made of how many witnesses there are and where they testify, how they testify, when they testify.
Well, I have a more practical question.
Okay, Ed.
Because you're allowed to bring electronic devices onto the floor of the Senate right now. Do you think jurors sitting for that trial should be allowed to have either an iPad or their phone with them?
That sounds like a decision of the Rules Committee.
Which you're still a member of, right?
I am, but I won't make a decision by myself. I must consult with my colleagues, which, by the way, I think is a good lesson for what kind of president I'll be, because you want to bring people with you instead of just deciding it by yourself. Right now, you can bring iPhones, but you can't bring anything more than that. And it's just been kind of not a set rule, but it's something we've decided to allow.
Here's where I'm going with this. If you guys are allowed to have them on the floor, would we be allowed to have them up in the rafters in the press gallery?
Okay, that's very interesting. And let me take it to the Rules Committee. You know me, I've always believed in transparency.
Exactly.
The daughter of a journalist.
So on behalf of journalists.
I stood up for journalists when there was some ridiculous plan to try to limit where you guys could go. And I was involved in making sure that didn't happen, as you know, in the last year.
This is why I ask. So, Senator, always good to see you.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels out on the trail.
All
We'll
right.
see you soon.
See you later.
Tanya, back to you guys in New York.